I would say, unfortunately, it's the girls' fault. It's the women's fault why there's so much single parents.
Why
there's so much single mothers.
Poor selection is the biggest one, I think.
Unfortunately, I would say that because so you think that the way people act now in relationships is due to their childhood.
Something comes from their childhood, definitely.
100%.
Yeah.
It has to.
I agree. I
think it's a tiny percentage, though. I
feel like it really does.
Once you have therapy, everything's going to lead back to your childhood.
No.
It's been scientifically proven.
It's not scientific proven back. The link back. But if you turn around and then you wasn't cheating, you can't then link it back.
You can link it back because you've seen the trauma that she's gone through, so you've decided not to do that and go the other way. So it still links back because you've seen the effects that has.
There is.
Like you said though, you gave the research. You said it's because of the childhood trauma. You lot was arguing with me, saying it was because of their trauma. So when they use that as an excuse, you can't then say you can't accept that.
I've cheated on you because of
Thank you.
my childhood.
Would you accept that, Anna? No. So, okay, we'll move on to the next subject because we've been looking now in the dating scene. And again, what do you girls think the biggest cause is for, single mothers these days? Because there's a lot of young single mothers now. And there's a lot of single mothers. I know, obviously, you girls are not single mothers, but what's your objectively...
moving too fast?
I don't think you can generalise that question.
Go on, sure.
I don't feel like you can generalise that question.
Not everybody.
Okay, go on.
Different situations.
There's so many different situations. I mean, God forbid,
let's talk about
you
some
could
of them.
have like a widower, or like going deep into that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that could be a single, or like.
Yeah, but that's come on. That's
a extreme.
Yeah, but like
that's
an extreme.
She's a widower. Yeah.
No, it's extreme, but like. I don't know. I don't feel like you can really generalize that question and get one answer from it.
Why not?
A deep question.
Because I've got quite a few. I've got a few single friends with very different stories. And
That's great. Yeah. So what is what do you say? One of the reasons you're.
For instance, the guy that I was recently dating said to me at one night when we were having a deep conversation. He said, "I've really disappointed my family," and I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because I brought someone and a child into my family's life that turned out to be toxic." And I said, "But you can't. No one can promise somebody I'm going to be with you forever. You can only promise for now. You can't say in 5 years' time we're going to be solidly good.
No, of course not.
And people change, and you don't always know someone.
That's a good point.
I've got friends that have also been in that same situation. Like my friend was basically not pushed into, but kind of like, he was a bit older than her. All his friends were settling down, having children. He needed to have that child. Yet the child was born. And yet he was jealous of his child, went out every weekend. And that's the reason for their relationship breakdown. But
that's one side. It's a one-sided story.
Yeah, but I've seen it both sides because I was there. So you know what I mean? And and he regrets it now.
But we can talk about there's young ladies having kids these days. And they're turning out to be single mothers, single parents, right? So if you give advice to them, if you were to look at it objectively and say, what is happening? Why are there so much single mothers now? What would you...
Irresponsibility.
Because I would say,
honey, the government aren't giving flats anymore. No, I'm just joking.
I would say, unfortunately, it's the girls' fault. It's the women's fault why there's so much single parents.
Why
there's so much single mothers.
Poor selection is the biggest one, I think.
Unfortunately, I would say that because women...
When they're very young, I agree.
Yeah, because women, when they get, like you said, they have feelings for the man and they have these high, intense feelings
girls
for a year.
Yeah.
And then they believe, I want to be with this guy forever. And then sometimes the men don't want to have the kid with her, but then she thinks, okay, I love this guy. He doesn't want to have kids. So, you know, if I have a baby with him, he's going to stay with me.
This is how
some think. And I think the ladies are having the kids with the guy thinking that the guy is going to be with them forever because the guy's going to be in the child's life. But they don't realize that the guy really is not going to be with her. He's going to give the kid unconditional love. So he's not. The women don't get unconditional love. No. So, and I think that's one of the cases. And I don't think these single parents, right? Their dads are not in their life. Because I know loads of guys, they're not with their baby mothers, but they love their kid. They're in the kid's life. So just because they're single mothers doesn't mean their dad's not in their life. No. And that's what women do a lot. They kind of make it out like, oh, I'm a single mother. The dad's not in his life. But really and truly, it's just that the dad's giving a kid unconditional love, but not for her.
I feel like that depends on your upbringing as well, though, and like where you've come from, like culturally and stuff. Because
what do you mean?
Like, I feel like, how do I put this in a nice way that doesn't offend anyone?
No, be offensive. No. Be offensive. It's fine.
Be offensive. It's good.
No, because I don't want to make it big as a makeup artist and get cancelled one day.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I really feel like it depends on your upbringing.
I don't think it's to do with race or culture or where you come from. Absolutely not. But it does come from the home. I think a lot of, I really do believe that a lot of our relationships and our life as adults are paved by childhood trauma. Like, and I've looked into that a lot. Like, and it's funny, I lost a lot of family members in a short space of time and I had a lot of therapy. But for some reason, instead of to deal with my grieving, they wanted to go into my childhood. And I thought, well, I actually had a really good childhood. Like, I had two my grandparents were amazing and they literally had the best relationship. My mum and dad did break up. And I think to myself, like, if anything I've learned from that, from when I did actually have the therapy, was that I always felt my mum walked away too easy. And I feel the only thing that I take from my childhood is I always have to make sure I've done everything in a relationship, even if it's a new... before I walk away, I know I can walk away. No, I did what I can do, and then there's no coming back for you.
So you think that the way people act now in relationships is due to their childhood?
Something comes from their childhood, definitely.
100%.
It has to.
I agree.
I think it's a tiny percentage, though. I
feel like it really does.
Because you have therapy, everything's going to lead back to your childhood.
It's been scientifically proven.
It's not scientifically proven at all.
It is.
It's proven that some people that had abuse when they were kids have grown up to become abusive. That's the scientific proof.
No, not necessarily.
Okay, so what?
So's watching things like
Sorry, you're saying. So sorry. Let me just put it out there so everyone can hear. You're trying to say that the way people have been brought up by their parents has something to do with how they.
What you see growing up. Yeah.
So how does that have anything to do with how they treat their?
How they treat their who?
How they treat their partners.
I had therapy and I was like,
how does that? So for yourself, so the way you saw your mum and dad act, right?
Yeah.
Would that justify you then saying and cheating on your man, being horrible? Well, then that's what you're saying. You're correlating childhood with adulthood.
I don't think if you've seen someone being beaten, because I've had family members that were beaten.
No one's saying beaten. I said treated.
My male cousins do this, grow up and do the same. Absolutely
100%.
not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I just think there's a pattern in our relationships, or sometimes how we end them, or how we deal with them. So for me, I always have to do what my mum didn't do, and I feel she walked away too easy.
That's my point. You prove my point, because everyone says you do what you see, but you 100% prove. People do the opposite.
But there's two. You can either do what you see or you do the 100%. Opposite.
So therefore, you can't relate. You can't correlate it to it.
But you can.
No, because if you're going to do what you saw, if half people do what they saw and half people done what they
but that still leads back to it, because you've seen that, you don't agree with it, so you do the opposite, or you see that and that's all you know, so you follow the pattern.
100%.
You follow a pattern, you continue a pattern.
But then you just contradict yourself.
No. Because what you're
right, and you start a whole new pattern.
No, but because here's the thing, right? If you're saying, right, I saw my dad cheat on my mum all the time.
Yeah.
Right? If that affected me, right, you can't have both. If it's affecting me, it's affecting me as a negative. Yeah. You're trying to accumulate a positive and a negative to that one incident.
Not together.
1 second. So let me finish. So if I saw my dad cheat on my mum, if that's affected me, then I'm going to cheat on other women.
Not necessarily.
So if it has
let's say you're an empath and you really love your mum and you see how much it's hurt your mum, and it depends on who you are as a person as well. You can say to yourself, right, I've got sisters, I've got a mother, and I never want to hurt a woman.
So you're saying then I saw my.
It still affected you, but more in a positive way.
The choice. There's a choice.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So therefore, there's no linkage back to that. Then you
some
can't.
People are doing something without even realizing.
Because if you're saying there's a guy that's grown up. If my dad cheated on my mum loads of times, and I grew up to cheat, then they can link it back. Yeah. The link back. But if you turn around and then you wasn't cheating, you can't then link it back.
You can link it back because you've seen the trauma that she's gone through, so you've decided not to do that and go the other way. So it still links back because you've seen the effects that has.
There is subconscious behaviour.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's such a minor.
There's subconscious behaviour that happens, obviously, from a young age, where you watch how your parents operate and you learn from them, and then you take that behaviour into adulthood. But I think what Vito is trying to say is that, sometimes, when you are aware of something that you don't want, for example, you can remove yourself from that subconscious behavior and consciously behave completely different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? There's possible, like you said, there was two. Like, you know, some people take it on board and they're not aware of doing it, and some people are aware of, you know, the behaviors that they didn't like, and they make a choice to do something different. So
Yeah, because it's like what Andrew Tate said, isn't it? Andrew Tate said, you know, people they put so much emphasis on the past, on the how the childhood like bring up, how the child brought up, but then he looks at how he's been brought up and he's like, okay, but I chose to go the other way. So you can't really link it back to childhood. I think that's what people do.
That's what I'm saying. Whichever at the crossroads, you get a choice which way you're going.
And that choice is dependent on you.
But but
So that it's not
he's chose that he's not going to go up the route of parents, or he is.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't even know you're making that decision because of childhood. There's probably millions of
The problem is, I'll tell you why the problem is with that study, because I've seen the study. The problem is men are cheating on with loads of girls. Let's say they don't like a girl, they get caught cheating. The pain is too much for them to say, oh, I cheated you. So they say, oh, do you know what? It was my childhood. This is why I did it. Because I had a bad childhood. And it's an acceptable reason. It's societal acceptable reason. But it's not the real truth.
Yeah.
But this is what people are doing. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, some of these men are just cheaters for whatever reasons.
Absolutely.
But they know they can link it back to their childhood, so the girl accepts it. Oh, I had a bad childhood.
That again depends on the girl. Maybe that comes from her childhood.
Do you know what I mean? So this is why I'm like, this is why it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
But like, I think a lot of people use it as an excuse. I think they go back and use it as an excuse. Yeah.
Like, I don't believe if you've been molested as a child that you're going to go on to be like that way, because I really believe those people have a sick chemical in their brain that makes them be like that. So I think that's an excuse when you say
It's an excuse, yeah. And
because
that's what I'm trying to say.
You can't think, if you know you've gone through that, why would you inflict that on someone?
And then when it's a choice, that's what I was trying to say to Anna. Like, people use it as a choice, as an excuse.
Or an excuse. Yeah.
And it gets them out. Society will accept it. It will get them out. If I said, "Oh, sorry, I got caught cheating," I'm like, "I'm sorry, I've done this."
Then why are they accepting it?
Because it's acceptable. It's society will accept that.
It's acceptable only to some people.
Because like you said though, you gave the research. You said it's because of the childhood trauma. You lot was arguing with me, saying it was because of their trauma. So when they use that as an excuse, you can't then say you can't accept that.
Saying I've cheated on you because of
Thank you.
my childhood. I won't
Would you accept that, Anna?
No.
No.
But you just argued with me and saying that he got affected by his childhood.
Can I say that, you know, you won't accept the guy for cheating for doing that, which is fine.
No.
But everybody
That's what you think. That's why you're doing it.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to change?
Okay,
that?
but you
True, I like that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
yourself have behaviors from childhood that the guy has to accept, which I think women sometimes.
He's pretty lucky. I'm going to give it my all until I can't give any more.
Yeah.
See you later out the door.
Yeah, but you may have bad behaviors from childhood. Potentially, I'm not saying you specifically. I'm just saying generally people have
This
bad
is like
behaviors.
gone into childhood.
But people have bad behaviors from childhood, and sometimes they have to accept your behavior as well. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's fair to accept your behavior if you don't accept his behavior?
No, of course not.
No, it works both ways.
Yeah.
But there's some compromises that are bigger.
But do you lot think you've got
whose risk? My mental health or my emotional health? Like.
So you're saying there's only degrees. There's degrees of behavior that you can't accept.
Man or woman.
But okay, let me ask you something now. Like you're 31, you're in your 30s right now.
Yes.
Do you have behaviors from when you was a child that you're going to bring into a relationship now? All the way back when you were like 3, 4.
Consciously, like I feel like
Yeah,
it's
No, if it's not,
Yeah.
if it's not consciously, it's not there. Right? Okay, subconsciously means it's there, but you don't know. So if
Can't
it's
control
not
it.
consciously, it's not there. We can't
No.
account everything because everything's in our
The only thing
subconscious.
that I'm aware of
So is that a yes?
The culture.
The
So-
closure.
Closure.
Yeah, for me.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
But that's a good
have to have
trait though.
closure. And I
But
have to know that I've done all
Everything.
I'm seen in a good light. Like, I know it sounds mad, but I can actually hand on heart say there's not an ex or ever say anything bad about me, and they've always tried to come back. They've always said like you were such a because I know.
But okay, so when we talk about like the whole point of when people say it was it's a repressed emotional trauma in your past is because it's a negative. So we don't go into the past to find positive. So when you said, "Oh, any childhood behaviors that you still have now, you're like that closure thing.
See, when it comes
that's
to
a positive though.
Yeah, because when
That's
it
a
comes
positive.
to my mum and dad,
So what I'm asking is there any negative behaviors that you had as a kid
Virgos don't criticize themselves, just so you know.
that you bring in?
No,
No, because
I do.
I do. I always own my faults. I do. I don't know. Honestly,
just need to a bit more answer the questions at hand.
Mine's
and
a
then,
no.
No, so there's
You
no
have
negative.
nothing.
That's good.
Okay, fair enough.
And then, but do you have any negative behaviours from the childhood that you?
I'm
bring
Irish, Spanish. Okay, my mum's got a fiery temper, and it
Yeah,
might have
go
come
on.
out.
Is it-
Might have come out a
Hers
little
is
bit when I
yes
was
or no?
younger.
So you got a temper, is that what you're saying?
No, not. Do you know what? A lot's happened in the last year. I think like when you go through a grieving process as well, life changes you as a person as well. Like, I'm very chill and calm. I think you learn and you grow. Okay, and if you're not learning and growing,
Just going to repeat the question one more time.
So hers is
do you
a
have
yes.
any?
no,
Mine's
I
a
don't
no.
feel I do. No.
You don't have any.
It depends how you take the whole closure thing, but I think it's a
No,
positive.
the closure thing is
Yeah,
positive.
I think it's a positive.
Again, people don't go to therapy because they've got
Yeah.
all these good experiences from the
Yeah.
past, from their childhood. They don't go to therapy because, oh, guess what? I've had all these great experiences of childhood. And I
wanna
thought
tell
I'd
you.
come here. I don't
Yeah.
want to tell you. So the whole point when we
Yeah.
argued before, right, and you girls were saying no, it's because of the childhood.
Yeah.
You just proved my point.
Mine is
that
not.
You can't
yeah.
have a negative. You can't go into.
But
the
you
past
can, I just
and have a
haven't.
negative.
But
So
there is
you
people
girls
that
had
do.
none, but
There
you
is people
believe
that
there's-
do.
And
Yeah.
but you then said that you wouldn't accept it if a guy cheated and you said it because of my
No,
past.
I wouldn't accept it. I don't care what your excuse
So
is.
therefore,
You did
it's not really valid, then, is it? Really, is it valid?
No, it's valid.
When you go to the people's
maybe to the next
past?
girl that you
It's
cheat on.
inconclusive.
Yeah,
Inclusive.
inconclusive.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's-
think it's a good point because a lot
Because
of
you know you can never use
Yeah.
something that's happened to you as a child as an excuse to treat
that's what
people
people do.
bad.
That's
Yeah,
what
they
people
do,
do.
but it's not. It's
And it's
for me,
acceptable.
it's not acceptable.
it's not.
And it
acceptable.
shouldn't be
I'm calling it
acceptable.
out.
Yeah.
I'm calling it out.
It's not
If anyone says to
acceptable.
me, yeah, they're
We're
acting
all
a certain way.
grown-ass people. We know what's right and wrong,
That's
and you
a
know.
good
And
point.
if you really
Yeah.
care about someone, you're hurting them.
Yeah.
And this is what I say to guys or girls at the beginning: just be transparent. If that's something you're not looking for, just let that person know that's not what I'm
Yeah.
looking for. So they're walking into it with open eyes. No girl can be mad at you if you're saying like, you know, you're being honest. You're an open book.
Okay.
Okay, that's
What's
good.
your
Let's
next
go with a
question?
question. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I got one for you, ladies. Do you think women are transparent when they're in a relationship? Do you think they're completely the open book? Do you think they
I'm too open.
In what?
in a relationship? In a relationship, they're in a relationship and open
what
about
way?
everything.
About what they want.
I'm talking
or-
about 100%
Past,
honesty.
truth?
100%
No.
honesty.
What they're looking for?
No, why not?
No.
Why?
Because
That's a whole other
it
subject
will, it
altogether.
will,
But we
that's a
know
whole other
how.
subject
But here's
together.
the
You know how
point.
America
But here's the
treats
point.
young black men.
Let
so,
me land the point. The point is, right, she was with him clearly for his status, and then when she got some evidence that she could use against him to leverage him with, she took it.
He got
now,
mental.
Yeah, but let's say, for example, a woman hits a man, right?
Yeah.
And then she calls the police and says,
Oh,
"You
yeah.
hit me."
Yeah.
Police are going to arrest the man.
I know.
Yeah.
So you say
that's wrong.
finances,
No, I
but it's
agree.
also freedom
It's
as well.
unbelievable.
I agree with that.
True.
I agree with that.
You can't
I
act
agree with
that
that.
wrong.
I
100%.
agree.
But do you
100%.
believe that the punishment should be that severe? He chose the wrong girl, or the girl was
No, of
lying
course
to
not.
him.
She's evil, and
And
she'll
then
get
he
her
lost
karma.
he got dropped by Marvel.
I know.
He can't even act anymore. He lost $500 million because of this one girl that was clearly fabricating the information.
It's crazy. But when do women lose
Yeah.
the way men? Women never lose when it comes to relationships. When you really break it down, they either get divorced, get a settlement, they have kids, they get child support continuously.
Yeah.
They get the house. The women never lose, and this is why men
I
are
get that.
afraid to take the
No, I
risk
get where you're coming
because-
from with that.
because women always win.
No, I
when
get
it comes.
it.
I think